Hi, I'm Mark Wybrow, and this is Electronic Cafe, the channel dedicated to the lovers of electronic music.
Hi, and I'm Andy McNabb. So let's get started.
Welcome to the Electronic Cafe, episode 10. Wow, it only feels like a few weeks ago that Andy and I started the channel as we intended, sitting side by side on the sofa talking about craftwork. And now here we are, episode number 10. We really didn't think that 9 episodes later we'd still be recording our parts separately due to the lockdown in the UK. But still, we'll crack on regardless, albeit separately. So, for this episode, we bring you the band School of Seven Bells, an American electronic indie band from New York who formed in 2007, who released 4 brilliant LPs between 2008 and 2016.
I was fortunate enough to see them twice, once in North London, and they were amazing. And then I went and saw them again at Beni Kazim, and I thought it was really bad actually that the guys had like a 2 o'clock slot in the afternoon, and it was pretty much empty. But the few people I managed to bring with me client-wise, because some were still obviously wanted to just chill out for the day before the evening's events, said to me it's one of the best concerts they've ever seen. And I just thought that band should have been on as a main headline slot, not a support right at the bottom of the bill. They just have this sound that is earthreal, emotive, stunning for me. They're one of the few bands I could put in a box and say they just weren't capable of making a really bad track. They were just incredible. And they were formed in 2007. Originally consisted of Alejandra Dehiza and her sister, twin sister Claudia. And they met a guy called Ben Curtis, who was in another band before that, Secret Machines, who I quite like. They had a really great single called Lightning Blue Eyes. Check that out if you haven't heard it. And Claudia left the group in 2010. There was some personal issues and reasons she did that. And then, unfortunately, Ben Curtis died of lymphoma in 2013. Just before he got diagnosed with illness, they were writing the band's 4th album. And Alejandra promised Ben that she would complete that album for him. So he died before the 4th album got released. Absolutely tragic. Amazing band. And the band took its name from an alleged South American pickpocket training academy, actually. I think Alejandra said she was watching some TV show and they were talking about this bunch of South African shoplifters, and the pickpockets were called the School of Seven Bells. That's where they got the name. They had quite an unorthodox songwriting process, apparently, which began with the recording the vocals first. And Curtis said the process was the most important part of the band, with kind of everything else being an accompaniment. I think their first album, Alpinisms, was released in 2008, and they went to tour with Bat for Lashes. And then their second album was Disconnect from Design, which was released in 2010, and that was held by Pitchfork as one to watch. And they also awarded International Best Bet of the Year, I think, for Aposta International at MTV Video Awards in Brazil. And then, Claudia left the band for personal reasons. So on February the 28th, 2012, they released Ghostery, their 3rd studio album. And then saying February 2013, sadly, Ben Curtis was diagnosed with T-cell lymphoblastic lymphoma after several weeks of displaying some pretty serious symptoms. He didn't recover. He died on the 29th of December 2013. I remember the time I talked to a friend of mine saying, we haven't seen these guys for a while, they've been really quiet. And he said, dude, did you not hear? And I said, no. And he told me, I thought it was so sad. The 4th album, SVIIB, It was completed after Curtis's death, as I said, in February 2016, and the music was usually described sort of indie rock, dream pop, shoegaze, electronic. According to Ben Curtis, School of Seven Bells was kind of inspired by everything. I think Kraftwerk, Wire, even Beyonce, New Order were kind of come to mind. They were just huge fans of pop too, mainly because they were just huge fans of smart songwriting. So even people like Joni Mitchell and Robert Wyatt were kind of put in that mix of people that inspired them. But needless to say, I don't know many people that have said, "Oh, I know School of Seven Bells," which is why I felt really strongly about doing this focus on these guys. So that's a kind of brief history of a very sad ending to an amazing band that, as I say, the stars shined really brightly for the time they were together from 2008 to about 2013. I would honestly say check every album. They're all different but amazing. So we're going to take a quick look through the 4 albums that really made them and the EP, which was called Put Your Sad Down. So let's have a slightly deeper look at the actual music of the School of Seven Bells. So the first album in the short but amazing catalogue of School of Seven Bells is called Alpinisms. I am not going to show it to you on vinyl. I only have it on CD, unfortunately. I bought it some time ago in 2008. And I think throughout this album, the kind of group finds a kind of perfect middle ground between the indie realms of tribal and choral, if that makes sense. They're kind of loads of beautiful electronic layers that really flourish without letting it become overwhelming on the arrangements. There's an opening track called I Am Under No Disguise, all one word, and it accomplishes this really effective, I think, with the Deezers twins' mantra-like vocals riding this sort of thrumming groove of the verse. There's a lyric that says, "My heart a drum of water propels the song," almost like a wordless chorus. I think for this album, School of Seven Bells knew what they wanted to achieve, and they did it really gracefully with a ton of style to spare. And I guess there's some comparisons on this album drawn between, if you like, the Cocteau Twins, My Bloody Valentine. Definitely check this album out. So when I first heard it, I was like, wow, this is awesome. So yeah, it's the first album, which is Alpinisms, School of Seven Bells.
I blink to see the light goes fading quickly. What begins as a line, but a train of thought so quickly become an addiction to the slumber of disconnection and resonance.
Then there was the second album by School of Seven Bells called Disconnect from Desire, and the lead track and first single, this Windstorm, really signalled a transition. There's like this instrumental drone that slides into the girls' crystalline vocals. They've got beautiful voices, and it's far from fuzzy and underdefined. I think the song draws clean 3.5 minute pop parameters. Then there's a track called Jovian and then Babylonia, which kind of achieves similar results with intros, outros, choruses, and they're drenched in this atmospheric distortion that kind of dissipates to reveal massive thoughts in terms of the beautiful melodies on this album. I think Heart is Strange is a brilliant sort of club sort of dance tune with the zeal and sort of energy of Ladytron's Destroy Everything You Touch, so I kind of put it in that bracket. It marks a real nice shift in their kind of aesthetics and where they're going. I think the album's drums are kind of primarily machine programmed, but they sound massive, especially on Strange and Dust Devil. There's real evidence of Ben Curtis's kind of obsession with rhythms that he had with Secret Machines that wasn't quite as obvious in the first album, but it's everywhere on this album, which say the amazing Ben Curtis also produced. So definitely want to put in the car, put it on just to lift the atmosphere. Great album, thoroughly recommended.
With no sound, no answer at the end. When the fire's burning, it's right to feel the moment. Take my way around. Drop from the expectation. When the fire's burning, the sky high of creation. Take my way around.
And then there's the final part for me to review, and that's the EP, 4-track, brilliant piece of work called Put Your Sad Down. And then there's the title track, Put Your Sad Down, which is probably the most experimental, outlandish thing they did. It's almost 13 minutes, but it's got a real excursion into like a Miami Vice style synth that thumps, and it has like a monasterial echo of Violator. And then also Claudia Deezer, she had left the band, so it was only one of the twins left to do the vocals. They've gone on an extensive tour, and I think this EP come out of that tour as a kind of thank you to the fans that stood by them as they went through a change. And again, you know, they'd gone through some significant changes over that year, and I think this release was their own way of dispensing some lingering ghosts before moving on to the new chapter of the final two albums. But yeah, definitely worth checking out. A great little EP, something that I've played quite a bit, especially the opening track. So I say it's 13 minutes long, but 13 minutes of pure genius. Love it. So check it out and enjoy.
And tonight, just feel with your body. So baby, no pressure. I'm just stuck in pleasure. So baby, no pressure.
Ghost Story is the third studio album by School of Seven Bells released in 2012. It is also their first album to be released after the departure of founding member Claudia De Haza, who left the band in October 2010. Album by album since their debut, they have continuously pared down song length, sonic clutter and now personnel, and on this third LP, Ghost Story, as a duo, it feels as if they've distilled and achieved perfection. Whereas their earlier sound intended to recreate the sonics of shoegaze, Ghost Story takes on a meditative tranquility with layers of synths, electronic rhythms and chiming of fuzz guitars, and has a kind of otherworldly quality in the same way the vocals on a Cocteau Twins record took you to some ethereal place. The production is top notch and worth listening to on vinyl to get that extra warmth and uncompressed sound if that's your thing. Just sitting back and letting the sound wash over you. A stunning record that needs to be checked out if you love alternative electronic music.
I'm in the same place you left me, baby. Oh, already the feels in my heart. If I worry,
SV11B is the fourth and final School of Seven Bells album that was released in 2016. It is a fantastic album and listening to it is bittersweet knowing the backstory. It was released just over 2 years after the death of Benjamin Curtis, and almost all of the album was conceived and written in 2012 before Curtis learned that he had cancer. At some point during her mourning and her relocation from New York to Los Angeles, Alexandra De Haza regained her creative strength and she opened Ben Curtis's laptop, and with the help of his brother Brandon, she organised the raw materials of what became SV11B. As you can imagine, Alexandra De Haza is mystified and numbed by events and is unsure what the future holds. The album was shaped and completed in the studio with Justin Meldal Johnson, the producer, better known for his work with Beck and M83, and on this final album, the duo sound is more electronic orientated, neater and more muscular than ever before. Dream pop, booming low end with big choruses with a combination of storming guitars and twinkling melodies, as dazzling as any moment alpinism or Disconnect from Desire has. Clearly the album is a love letter from the start to the end. It's a document of their 10 years together. It's about loss, grief and fear of the future alone. And while it's remarkable that this album exists at all, what's even more remarkable is how resilient and even joyful it is. SV11B is undoubtedly a hard listen at times for those who have followed the group, particularly when its context breaks through into the songs. But these songs are glorious, amazing songs, the product of deep caring. It is life-affirming and quite possibly perfect. All the elements of previous albums are present and correct. Layers of synth, hooky choruses, electronics and guitars, beautiful production, and SV11B is not only the group's most technically accomplished work, but it's a perfect swan song. It feels a true and wonderful memorial. If you've never heard School of Seven Bells, do go check them out, as we both feel that they certainly need more recognition. The body of work that they've produced is amazing in that short period of time. A fantastic and emotional farewell to a band that was massively undervalued.
Wake up. Open your eyes, love, 'cause you've been sleeping. It's getting hard to bear watching you all alone. I know your heart is broken and you've been weeping, but I've been waiting here patiently for too long.
So, welcome to the Hot Stuff section where Mark and I look at some cool stuff, mostly new, trying to introduce more new music to people's lives. And I think this particular episode we won't disappoint you. The first album that I want to recommend is called Silent Places by the fantastic Houses of Heaven. This band was formed in Oakland, California, and it consists of members, a guy called Kevin Ticon, Adam Becker-Nicot. In a press release that I think the band said the album is trying to explore the intimate experiences that transpired within the chaotic confines of modern living. It was written against the backdrop of those massive wildfires in Northern California, and the ever-growing tent cities and the continued rise of empty luxury housing in the Bay Area. So there was some real influence on this album. It's got a ton of amazing textures and rhythms that are weaved throughout. There's big tinges of a band called The Curses, who I love, if you don't know them. Very early Simple Minds, Cure, Kitchens of Distinction, and a touch of early Depeche Mode, just thrown in for good measure. But for all that, I think they have a fairly unique sound. I have to say, I absolutely love this album, and know the more I play it, the more I'll discover. So I would say go and discover this great album. It's out on Felt Records. It's on coloured vinyl or transparent. I think this might be a transparent version. Yeah, it's a transparent vinyl, but really cool album. It's just got such a cool atmosphere. So yeah, definitely recommend this. This is Houses of Heaven, Silent Places. Check it out and let me know what you think of it. And I'm going to be a little bit cheeky and do a second album, but then throw in a couple of mentions for two others very briefly that I absolutely think you should know about. But the main review on this piece is of a band that I love called Zola Blood, and the album's called Infinite Games. Great artwork, I think, on the cover as well. This album was brought out in 2017. The band's comprised of a guy called Matt West on vocals, Ed Smith on synths, Paul Brown guitars, and a guy called Sam Cunnington on drums. There's a ton of blissed out melodies on this album, and Matt's vocals bear more than a passing resemblance to Tom York, and with a bit of Morton Harkett thrown in, bizarrely to me. A great voice. The production quality on this album is just brilliant. There's a sense of atmosphere in this album that is not to be underestimated. It's spine-tinglingly good, full of great scenes, strong beats. This is definitely one to add to the cool department. And again, I just stumbled across this band by listening to Rusty Egan's show, which is on Twitch TV. And that's how I discovered them. Heard a track, thought brilliant, found out this album was out on vinyl, bought it, and love it. And really well recommended. Great album for just people that like cool electronic, really well arranged atmospheric music, but with a great vocal as well. So yeah, check out Zola Blood and Infinite Games. Well recommended.
Play the part, take a name, burn a heart, tear a vein. Wonder if it's fine or it's just nothing. Play the part, take a name.
Very briefly, two quick non-vinyl mentions. So 808.pop, this is a project of Metroland's Passenger S. So if you're a lover of real vintage electronic music and you like the synthetic sounds of bands like Kraftwerk, Metroland, obviously this is definitely your thing. Definitely worth checking out. I really like this album. And then finally, don't even have it on CD, but it's a download. I had to let you know about Phono Head. The album's called A Broken Shape of Time. It's his debut album. It's definitely on my side of music tastes. I discovered again this guy via Rusty's Twitch TV show. It's got a really rich synth sound that is right in my sweet spot. It's full of great warm ambient lands or soundscapes. There's a touch of VMV Nation a bit, but there's something else that makes it so listenable. I've been sharing a link to the video to the single, to the track Metropolitan Child. Go and check that out on YouTube. So Phono Head, Metropolitan Child. So you can check it out before you buy it. But I would say it's a shame it's not on vinyl. Gutted. But definitely worth downloading. I also know that Phono Head, or Ed, is going to be releasing a new EP at the end of the summer. And I'm hoping that Mark and I will get to chat to him about that nearer the time. So stay tuned. And yeah, great album. Phono Head, A Broken Shape of Time. So there's 2 main albums and 2 little mentions that I thought I had to get in. So some great music for you to check out. I'd recommend all 4 of them. Absolutely awesome. Mark, what are you listening to, buddy?
My first Hot Stuff album choice is To Lose My Life, the debut album by the British band White Lies, released in 2009. Admittedly, at 11 years old, it's not new, but one of the main purposes of Electronic Cafe is to highlight great electronic and new wave music that people possibly might have missed. And personally, I love this band. I first heard this band late one night driving back from one of my band's rehearsals. It was about midnight and I had just finished 4 or 5 hours in the studio and the radio was on in the background of the car and I heard this song. The synth line was huge, the chorus was huge. Let's grow old together and die at the same time. And I thought, what the hell is this song? It sounded incredible. A dark, Killers, Interpol, Editors sounding track, but I knew it was none of those. I fell in love with it instantly. There was no DJ, there was no Shazam, so for the whole journey home I had to try and remember that line and Google it when I got in. The song was the title track, To Lose My Life. A Peter Hook-esque bass line, synth stabs and arena-sized guitars, crisp drumming, playing 16ths on the hi-hat like Roger Taylor used to in the early Duran Duran. White Lies fused U2's stadium-sized grandiosity with Joy Division's bleak foreboding and sound dramatic and polished. And I love that, although it's something they've also been criticised for. The lyrics flirt with death and mortality a lot on this LP, but not morbidly, more in the context of Smith's Is There a Light That Never Goes Out. I've been lucky enough to see them twice in the early days. Once at the NME Awards ceremony when The Cure were awarded their Godlike Genius Award, and a second time on their own. Both times they didn't disappoint. They released their 5th album last year, and I'd like to do a proper Electronic Cafe episode on White Lights in the future. Check out this album and later songs like Big TV or Tokyo while you're at it. A great album and massively underrated in my opinion. Tell me what you think.
Let's go all together and die at the same time. Let's go all together and die at the same time. I said I've got no time.
My second Hot Stuff choice is this, Blondie's return to form with their 11th studio album Pollinator, released in 2017. Blondie are of course one of the world's greatest and most iconic bands who were absolutely huge in the late 70s and 80s, and Blondie's body of work has touched on new wave, disco, electronic and rap. Pollinator was the last album recorded at New York's legendary Magic Shop Studios before its closure. The album was produced by John Congleton, known for his work with St. Vincent, John Grant, Goldfrapp, War on Drugs and David Byrne, just to name a few. And not only does this album have songs from Blondie's classic writing duo of Chris Stein and Debbie Harry, but also an impressive list of songwriters were used, including Johnny Marr, TV on the Radio's Dave Sitek and Charlie XCX. Their keyboard player, one of my favourite keyboard players in modern music by the way, is the brilliant and classically trained Matt Katz Bowen, and he co-wrote 2 tracks too. Joan Jett and Laurie Anderson also appear on the album, and the album is a return of a much more band-sounding record than a number of their previous releases, and befitting one of the world's greatest bands. Blondie, with Debbie Harry, Chris Stein and Clem Burke on drums, still has the backbone of that vintage Blondie sound that has been missing for a number of years and a number of albums, and this album has the DNA and consistency that could easily sit alongside Eat to the Beat or Atomic Period Blondie. The album charted higher in the UK and the US album charts than any Blondie album has since the 90s, and the production is top notch too. There are some great songs on this album. Doom or Destiny, Already Naked, Fun, My Monster, Best Day Ever, and my favourite track, Long Time. If you haven't checked this out, or you haven't checked a Blondie album out for a number of years, go listen to this. It's well worth investigating.
Take me, then lose me, then tell them I'm yours. Are you happy? Does it take you a long time? Does it make you upset? Does it...
And then finally, as you know, we had a competition a few weeks back where you could win a signed gold album from Rusty Egan, our good friend and supporter of the show. The album's called Welcome to the Dance Floor, and one of our subscribers, Andina, based in the US, won, and she got the album. So we thought we'd just show you a message from her and saying that, and letting you know that the album arrived all okay. And we will be looking at doing more prizes. So.
Hi everyone, this is Andina from Michigan, the winner of the Electronic Cafe subscriber competition, and I'm excited and pleased to announce that I received the limited edition copy of Rusty Egan's Welcome to the Dance Floor, sent out to me by Rusty himself, along with a fantastic personalized note from Rusty. I'd like to thank Rusty, Mark, and Andy for your kindness and generosity in sending this out to me. I really enjoy watching your episodes on the channel, and I look forward to more great electronic music content. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, Ondina. Much appreciated, and we're pleased that the LP has now arrived safely in the US. Congratulations again, and we hope that you enjoy it. Keep watching and subscribing, because we'll be running some new great competitions in the near future.
So I really hope you've enjoyed this episode of Electronic Cafe. If you've never heard of School of Seven Bells, then I hope you discover an amazing band that you, like myself and Mark, fell in love with. And for those who do know them, I hope we've done them justice. And the Hot Stuff section, some amazing stuff for you guys to listen to. You know, that was the main reason we did this show, is to bring music that's not getting the airtime I think it deserves to the masses. So go and check all those albums out. Let Mark and I know what you think about them. You know, we're hoping as we grow that we'll be interviewing some of these people that we're reviewing. So keep watching the show. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. If you love what we do, please share it. That'd be amazing.
Thanks again for watching the Electronic Cafe and for your continued support. See you next time. Take care.
Stay tuned, stay safe, and Mark and I really look forward to seeing you all on the next edition of the Electronic Cafe. Bye bye for now.